How's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. We have a special guest with us tonight. She can say her name, her band name, what she does, all that jazz.
Awesome. What's up, Brandon? Thank you so much for having me on Audio Addiction today. Guys, I'm a solo artist. My name is Zahna. That's Zahna. It's not Zahna or Zandra. Believe it or not, I've had people tell me, and here comes Zandra. And I'm like, where did you get the D and the R? That's what I want to know. But I'm happy to tell you.
I love it.
I'm very happy to be here tonight, so thank you for having me, Brandon.
No problem. You know, honestly, I feel that as someone who gets called Brendan on a daily basis, you learn to take it, you don't learn to take it too hard. You know, you take it off the chin. Yeah. You know, it is what it is. But I appreciate you for coming on, Zahna. I'm going to definitely try my best to say that correctly throughout this entire interview. If I screw up in any sort of way, I hope that people will let me know in the comments. Don't be too hard on me because I can't pronunciate anything. But
nope. Yeah, just think. So my full name is Susana in Spanish, so that's where it comes from. So just Zahna is like the English version of the last half. Yeah. So just don't call me Susan. I don't call her. I'm okay with Susie and Susana, but no Susanna or Susan.
We're going to have, I think there just has to be a compiled list at the end of this. These are the ones that you can get away with. These are the ones that are, nah, I can't do it.
Like, Susan is becoming a slur, like Karen's now, bro. So
you are far from a Karen. So we can't have that. We can't have that. No slander here. But Zahna, I have to ask, how did you start out in doing music? Because I did check out some of the music videos on YouTube, and it seems like very much like myself, you've been doing it for a long time. So who kind of got you initially started out in music? Did you come from like a musical background? Are your family very musical? Kind of give me the full, like almost like origin story of Zahna.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll try to make it quick. A lot of it is very common as other people, but my dad, I'm Mexican. My dad plays classical Mexican guitar, like very, so he's the one that got me into guitar playing. And so I started in like a church setting where, everyone is really gracious. Okay, they're very give you a lot of room, but yeah, I really just as a kid, I don't know if I just had a really vivid imagination, but I heard music in my head all the time.
I feel that.
So really happy to have a tool finally to like play something on, and I only knew like 4 chords, but I could make a million songs out of those 4 chords, yeah. And so fast forward, I'm getting comfortable with music, and I do what every 14 or 15-year-old does. They start a band in high school. So we did that, and my guitarist was actually really good. He was only a year older than me, but we just vibed really well, and we played these corny local shows. And so, that was my first, it was about 4 years of just being this corny garage band of high school much. And then I actually felt the call to go to Bible college. So I went to Bible college for 3 years, and I was like, I have this feeling that I need to like give up music for a little bit. And I don't know, like I need to like offer this to God as a sacrifice of like, hey, I want you more than anything, So I did that. And my 3rd year was wrapping up, and I had gone through this horrible breakup, and my parents, as a graduation present, since I got a scholarship the last year for all my tuition, they were like, look, we're going to give you $2,000 to go record some of your original songs in a nice studio. So what they had planned to be my tuition, they just gave it to me to basically just start my dream.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but essentially, I recorded like 5 original songs towards the beginning of my last year. And my producer was like, these are pretty good. What are you going to do with this? And I was like, I have no idea. I never thought I'd touch music again. I thought I was going to be like a pastor's wife, dude, or something. Here, man. But I loved rock music. I mean, I was influenced by like all the tooth and nail bands, all the Christian core, you know what I'm talking about? So, I knew that being in music was going to be expensive. I mean, luckily I had my album gifted to me from my parents, but there's obviously so much more cost that goes into that. And so I was just really praying about it and thinking about it. And I just happened to be like scrolling on Facebook one day. And no, actually, that's not what happened. I lied. I was playing Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess.
Oh yeah.
I'm a huge Zelda fan. So yeah, in that game, there's a character named Ilia. And I was like, dude, isn't that like an all-girl band or something? Like, I grew up listening to like a couple of their songs in youth group at church and stuff. I go look them up on Facebook, and like the first thing I saw was that they were looking for a new singer. And I was like, bro, you gotta be joking me. And so I told my roommate, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna audition as like a joke. Like, I really didn't think it was gonna go anywhere. Because I was like, dude, I have no other options. Like, I don't have $10,000 to be a band. Like, I don't even have players. All my friends were in different bands already committed. Like, wasn't gonna work. Sure. So I sent in. I started talking to them, and it turns out they were only like 5 hours away from Dallas, where I was going to school. I went, met them in person, kind of had like an in-person screening, and they're like, a couple weeks later, they're like, and I was already going to graduate, and they're like, look, when you're done from school, like, will you come be our singer? And I was like, oh my gosh. So I got this like weird, and my only stipulation was that they had to kind of adopt the EP that I just did.
Sure,
and they were down. They wanted to, because like they had already like 2 singers before me, and they were like, we need new music. And I was like, cool, I need a band. Here's your music and your singer. It was like a
full circle,
essentially. And they had like a huge touring like RV and like a practice space, like all the equipment you'd ever need. It was like, just like God was like, here, I told you to give it up. Now here it is all back to you.
Here you go. This is yours now.
Yeah, it was wild, man. So I kind of got handed, I definitely got handouts, man. I'm not going to lie. Like, I got an EP, and I got this weird circumstance that just worked out very well. So call it fate, or call it destiny, or a chance, or my privilege, but I don't know. So that essentially, right after I graduated, I was on my first national tour, and I had no idea that what I was like. I have a little bit of experience in my high school band performing, and I loved it. Great fit. We did a first 3-month tour, and I was like, bro, this is it. I got in. I just got in. Like,
yeah, I did it.
I continued with that band for almost 3 years. I was actually the longest. And unfortunately, we got in a deal with some management that really did a lot of damage to our band, just kind of pinned us apart. And at the time, like, I was dating my now husband, which was a problem for the management. They like wanted to meet. It was weird, man. And I was like, we're a Christian band. Like, why do I need to be single and sexy? You know, like, I don't like this. This is weird. And it was the management telling us that, not my bandmates.
No.
So, and they feel the pressure because they've been doing this a lot longer, and they're like, we have to succeed. You have to do whatever they say. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know why I can't be with him and still, like, he's not going to take me away from this or something, if that's what you're scared of.
He's just going to carry you away to the next.
To this day, man, we can speculate why that was so important. But there was also some money things involved as well. And anyway, I don't even, I've talked about it a lot in interviews. I just need to get over it. But essentially, we ended up disbanding. It was really unfortunate. It was right before our first international show. We had all this momentum going, and you know, those are the scars that musicians get from their bands breaking up. You know, I could write a story, man. It's the mini violin playing. It's corny at this point, but essentially, at that time, I was diagnosed with a genetic disease that was causing my kidneys to fail. So your girl was in a low spot. She was like, I'm really sick, I'm broke, and my band broke up, and I have no job. Like, what am I gonna do? So it was like, okay, God, like, you gave this to me, and now it's gone. Like, I'm very confused. Anyway, yeah, but it's weird because I had like a lot of rage, and that rage kind of really helped me through to face like my medical issues head on. Because they were like, your kidneys are failing, like, it's inevitable, like, you're gonna fail in the next 5 years. And I'm like, bro, like, what? You know, so out there. Like, never did I think in my life this was gonna happen to me. You know, so it turned out being some genetic mutation that, like, my kidneys don't produce a certain protein, and they can't break down these toxins anymore.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. So I had a really hard time. So that was like towards the end of 2016. My band just broke up. Our album was never going to come out. We missed our show in Germany. I got this weird diagnosis. The only thing I have going for me is that I have a really hot boyfriend, and who is now my husband, and he's sticking through me, sticking through it the whole time. And he gave me a really cute cat for Christmas. So I got my cat and my boyfriend and my supportive family. That's about it. Your girl is.
Oh my God.
That.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So after that, I'm Latina, so I have a bad temper, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start my own band. I get all of you guys and write a revenge album, and it's so immature, but I did it. But it also like helped me cope with, like, I was writing songs about coping with all the aftermath of the band breakup, and also like the health crisis I was gonna have. And I was like, you know, the first song on Red for War, I called it Red for War because my management was always like, you need to dye your hair, you need to be more extreme. And I was like, I don't know what color to do, so I did red because I don't know why, I just picked it. And so I kind of used that as I was like, red for war, because I'm gonna kick your butts or something. On that, it's so dumb. On that album is called. There's a first track called Unshaken. That's basically where I was. I was like, you know what? I don't even care if I've lost everything. I don't care if I'm about to die. I'm gonna go out with a bang, y'all. Like, I'm unshaken, bro. And so. Oh my gosh. But what ended up happening is that a label picked that album up, actually, and then I got another huge handout, man. Like, just boom, like, and I lost no time either. Like,
wow.
I was right back where I was about to be. So I don't know, man. God is crazy. I am a full believer of him, because there's just no way my life turned out this way if he's not real. So anyway, you know, and I made a pact with him. I said, you know, whatever happens to my life, whatever you do, I'm going to be honest about it, whether it's good or bad. So here we are talking about. Yeah, so essentially, that album got picked up by a label. It got distribution with Universal Music Group, Capital Christian. I was in Christian bookstores, and I was on tours again, like nothing had ever happened. And then literally my first show offer was an offer for Germany. It was yeah. And then that weekend so fast forward like 9 months later, because I got that offer, and I got that offer about a year before it happened. So fast forward about a year, me and my then boyfriend are now getting married that weekend, and Germany is our honeymoon, and we're gonna fly to Italy right after we play my first international festival. And so I'm just in Rome at that point after it's all said and done, and I have a bottle of Prosecco, and my husband's in my bed next to me, and I'm like, girl, we won! We win! Like, we didn't miss a thing, girl. Just winning.
Serving it up, yeah.
And I say this, it sounds like I'm boasting, but you have to know this part because it gets a lot worse after this.
Oh my God. This is like...
You're on a roller coaster right now. It's about to plummet.
Oh no. All right. Let me get my bag of popcorn, my metaphorical like popcorn bag, and start.
Get ready, because and follow, like, the emotional high is followed by like 4 years of torment. So it's like God doesn't pick favorites. I'm telling you, I'm not his favorite. He just has a plan for me that is very special, apparently. But so that was the highest of the highs of my life. You know, you're playing an international festival, a huge crowd. You're brandly new married. You're surrounded by loved ones, your friends. Your wedding went amazing, beautiful, gorgeous. Come back, come home, and then right around, so that was October of 2018. My album had just come out a month before that, and I was like, I believe at the time I was the top seller on that record label. So yeah, it was a lot of pressure, but it was awesome because I was. I'm by myself. I'm not even a band. Like, this is awesome.
Sure.
Shortly after that, just stuff gets really hard financially, and then also my kidneys are actually starting to fail at that point. So it had been about 3 years. No, Yeah, 2 years since my diagnosis. They gave me 5 years for them to fail. Well, they failed in like 2 to 3. So I get like this call from my doctor. He's like, if you're gonna have kids, you need to have them now because you may not. This is your kidneys are not gonna support a child possibly. Like just, and I wasn't even married at that point yet. So by the time we were already married. It was January. I started noticing like a really big change in my body. Like I used to go to work and then go to the gym right after every day.
Mm.
I started I didn't have the energy to go to the gym anymore, and then like I was just nauseous all the time, and then I just start throwing up randomly. Like I didn't eat anything bad, and my energy levels were just really tanked. I was really anemic, and I was like sleeping like 12 hours a day, pretty much. And I would be basically active for 4 hours out of the day, and the rest of the day I'd have to lay down because I was so cold and like sleep.
Wow.
So yeah, I could only be active for about 4 hours a day. So my kidneys were like on their last, and they don't give you a transplant until you're on your last, basically, because the insurance doesn't approve it. So they're like, suffer until we do this for you.
Oh my God.
Even though it's inevitable, it's gonna happen. So it got pretty gnarly the next 6 months, and a health crisis like that is like just something I really don't ever recommend for newlyweds to go through, like ever, and especially touring ones that have to be apart sometimes. And so we're still married though. It's all good. That's the fact that that's me. We're still together.
This is only getting worse as we're.
It got rough. It got
Yeah.
rough.
Oh man.
Without those problems have it rough. They're learning each other and stuff, and being a team. So essentially, June 19th is when I had my kidney transplant, and I was labeled like, which I can't gloss over this part. My mom was she's the only person, her and my dad were the only ones tested to be donors, and my mom was a match. So we didn't even have to look. Like it was immediately approved. It worked. She was a match. So my mom was my donor, and I got my kidney transplant, and she did fine. Everything was great. We had insurance. Beautiful, beautiful. Like, I really have to count my blessings in this because I really did win the lottery in a sense that I'm in a country that has healthcare like this, that I even got a donor. The donor was my mom, and she was willing. It was automatic. It was planned. Like, I didn't have to, like, go to emergency dialysis. Like, I had insurance. Like, it was very, very good. That, I really hate complaining about it, even though it was like the most traumatic thing that's ever happened in my life.
Yeah.
But I have to be honest that I was very lucky. So, it's crazy because God has such a sense of humor, because my whole life I have been terrified of needles in hospitals. Like, I would pass out getting my blood drawn or getting a simple shot. Like, that's how bad.
Oh man.
So, like, I say that my band breakup gave me strength to get through this, because you're talking to somebody who would literally have to have a catcher when they went to the doctor, because if they thought I'd pass out. And so it was like, to me, understanding I was going to have this operation was so psychologically tormenting to me that, like, part of my screening for my transplant, they were like, you have to go see a psychologist to see, like, if you could even handle this. And I was like, well, if I don't get this transplant, I basically can kiss touring goodbye, because I have to be on dialysis. You have to do that 3 times a week. Can't leave that town. So I was like, I have no choice. Like, music literally is my motivation to get through this if I want to go back to the high that I was on. You know? And not operate like a zombie. That's, people with kidney failure, man, it's a slow death. It's a very slow death. So, so the kidney transplant comes. My mom was my donor, and I had a lot of psychological turmoil, which is why the marriage was getting hard.
Sure.
No one could save me from that place in my brain. Like, I couldn't trust anything. I didn't trust anyone. It came, and I had like a lot of complications actually. So the surgery was successful. It was, but like I was getting constant urinary tract infections. And like constant, like that could kill me, because I have no immune system right now. They basically take it all out when you have the surgery, and they suppress it heavily for 6 months. So 6 months I had like no immune system. I could have died a couple times. I was admitted to the hospital a lot for several days. And I was just, at this point, I was feeling so sick and weak that like I actually regretted the transplant. And it was like, this wasn't worth it. I don't feel better. I feel worse. I
Sure.
have like
Yeah.
no muscle mass. I'm skinny as hell. Like I can't even work. I can't even walk. Like, why didn't I just die? I didn't want to go through dialysis either. I was like, you know what? Just kill me. I don't want to do any of this. I seriously and I remember telling my sister, and she didn't even understand what I was trying to say. She was like, what do you mean you would have rather not done anything? She didn't understand that I was trying to tell her, like, I wish I would kill myself. Like, I wish I would kill myself. So, and I talk about all this because it has to do a lot with my current album that's coming out.
Yeah.
Literally about this whole time of my life. And so, a lot of regret. It wasn't until about 6 months after the transplant that I started feeling good. And I was like,
That's great.
I feel different. This feels good now. And so ultimately it was a huge success. I was a complex patient, if you will.
That's what it seems like. Yeah.
Yeah. And so 2020 rolls around. So that was 2019. And I was like, yeah, I survived this health crisis. And you know what happens in 2020? You know what happens.
Oh, we all know. Yeah.
So it was like this health crisis followed by a crisis, but this time it was global. And I have still a very delicate immune system. So I'm like, bruh, I'm gonna die this year. I'm going to. There's no way. I'm gonna die. And so more psychological turmoil.
Sure. Yeah. I feel that. I get that.
And then, the economy runs down and I was working so many jobs, man. As soon as I could walk, I was like, bro, I need to go make money. I need to go make money. And I remember starting a new job and crying at work because I hadn't been acclimated to walking in 3 months. So I was bedridden for 3 months. So I'm like, I got a waitressing job and my feet were just destroyed. I had no muscle in my butt, in my legs, in my feet, in my calves. I was building everything back up. So it was very hard for me because these other girls are gossiping about making fun of me, and they have no idea the hell I just enjoy. I just want to go to my past self and just give her a hug.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was rough. And so, what was I talking about? I don't even know anymore. Oh yeah, the pandemic hits. I lose all my jobs. Touring is gone, and I had just bought a tour vehicle February of 2020. So I had payments now, man. I had payments, and my health insurance was $600 a month, and I also to buy all these expensive medications. It was crazy, dude. It was I don't even know how we did it. I think. In hindsight, it was a good thing because I started teaching voice lessons, which I got paid way more than other stuff. And so out of struggle comes ingenuity and, so it was a good thing that also happened. And if I had waited to get my tour vehicle now, it would have been doubled in price because chip shortage. So it's good Lord. So these bad things that seemed bad at the time were actually good. My kidneys failing 7 months before a pandemic when they paused all transplants during COVID. I would have missed my deadline. So June 2019 is when I had it. I told you it was 6 months of hell, right? And so by 2020 January, I'm good. And if I had just waited even a couple months, I may have not even gotten hospital access.
Sure, yeah.
I could have died. I really could have. So I'm very grateful that everything happened the way it did, and I really do believe it was divine. So 2020 rolls around. Me and my label. Well, my husband was in a band also on that label, and they had a huge falling out with the owner, which I also didn't like certain things that label had done.
Sure.
They released my record. I didn't like that. I didn't have a whole lot of attention to continue my marketing plans, and I was just kind of cool, your album was out, okay, we're gonna forget about you, go to the next artist. And it's bruh, we're not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm keeping this going.
Yeah.
So essentially, we also parted ways. I don't want to say lost because I don't think it was much of a loss, but we parted ways with the record label also in 2020. So now we have no label.
Oh.
We're going through a health crisis ×2. Plus, we have all these expenses we didn't, and no economy. So it was bro, and we're newlyweds. And
Oh my God.
It is.
Yes.
It's funny now, but I mean, we're in such a better place now. But at the time, it was really hard. And so,
Sure.
like, you kind of hear that on some of my new songs, just like very hopeless. And so, actually, my top song is called Erase, and it was about like the mental turmoil that I was going through. I was like, erase my identity. I don't want to be in existence anymore. This is too
Yeah.
hard.
Oh,
I had too much stress and I should have died. I should have died so many times at this point. Just kill me. Just take me out. It's fine. And so it was a much different attitude than when I first started, and I was full of rage and defiance and like, yes, I'm gonna conquer. And now I'm like, bro, I am brought to my knees. I am
sure. Yeah.
So that's why I talk about all the good stuff, because you have to know why things aren't the way they are now, because of the humbling and the
Yeah.
journey versus. So after that, I'm like, look, I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say after my health stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
I started writing new stuff, and I went to Kellen McGregor of Memphis Mayfire, and dude, he didn't charge me to write. We just started writing songs, and he loved it. We were both vibing. That dude didn't charge me a penny until I was ready
Kellen's
to get
sick.
mad. I love him,
Love
man.
Kellen.
He's a great producer. He's a great writer. So that's the producer that did this new album coming out.
Very cool.
My sophomore full-length record. And so that's where we are now. Kind of, we were looking passively at the idea of a label picking it up, and it didn't transpire, obviously, because of the garbage that the music industry went through. There's no budget to break new artists, so.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? That's cool. We're going to rock this independent. And it's going very well, actually. I'm like, yay, I can pay my bills now with the music that I invested
Woo! Let's go.
in. So it's like, I don't think anything's an accident. So yeah, we're all around much better place, and still doing it. So that's why I'm here to talk about that record. That's the origin story.
Well, listen, I want to say kudos, because obviously it was a very long story, but I appreciated all the depth of it, because I think a lot of the times when I have artists on, it's always very easily to be just like, okay, music, good, loud, angry, whatever the mood is, right? But to get the backstory, and I think it allows me to not only understand your position more, but also have a lot of like admiration for what you do, especially considering the like terrible things that had happened in your life, and I think it makes me appreciate your music more, having listened to 4 or 5 different tracks now, because I think you get to see kind of the journey and the thought process behind, like, okay, this was like a really terrible point in my life, this was a really good point in my life, this is a even worse part of my life, I'm gonna write another song about it. And I think it just has this way of transcending within the music, where like you can feel that anger, or you can feel that sadness or that depression about how you felt in that time. And I always try to connect with not only the artist I have on, but also just like musically as well, because I think unlike most genres, I would argue, I feel like heavier music has this sort of way of expressing those sorts of emotions of like, people in peril, and people in crisis, and there's something about it where, there's some artists obviously that can feed into that, certainly, but then there's also artists that can kind of be like, hey, listen, we all have terrible times, but like it's about how you kind of view things and the perspective that brings, and hopefully, it allows people to know that there's a better way out of it. It doesn't necessarily require you to hurt yourself, or to kill yourself, or whatever. And it's a good it's a good message to have, certainly. And I think with the songs that I listen to kind of a smattering of what you've been releasing recently. So I listened to Die for Something. Shout outs to Cody, he was the one who sent it to me, so big shouts to him, big love. And this one features Nesdam. I don't know if that's Nesdam. Yeah. He's great.
So he's actually my husband. That guy's my husband. Yeah.
Kudos.
Album's coming out next year too. I'm really excited for it. So
oh yeah.
We met because we were in separate bands. So I was in my last band. He was in his last band. We were on a tour together. And I was looking to marry a man who knew about this lifestyle. So I was like, look, I know I'm going to find him on tour. And he ended up living in Houston, and I was in San Antonio. So after the tour, we still drove and saw each other, and it just worked out, man. It worked out.
Beautiful.
But he's got 3 other songs out in his album. We're writing it together, and we are so close to being done. So it's going to come out next year.
Shout outs, Nestom. He's great. Better Run was the other one that I listened to, and then an oldie, but Your Gun, My Knife. Just because I like to get the variety. I like the more current stuff that is out. But then if the artist has been around for quite a bit, I always like to kind of listen to the old stuff to see how much has changed, right? And I think for me, it's really cool to see your progression as an artist. From Your Gun, My Knife all the way to die something for something. It's such a cool process that we'll obviously get into a little bit later on, but it's really cool to see that you're putting that time into the music. And I'm not saying that you hadn't beforehand, certainly, but there's something about it now that I can appreciate more than just listening to it, just sitting at my desk before we were hopping on. I was like, okay, I'm just going to listen to it, give myself a little bit of a flavor, a little bit of an idea. But, listening to the actual music and knowing your storyline and what you've been through, I think it just resonates a lot more with me now. And I hope that people that when they go to check out this interview, I hope they also go to check out your music as well. I'll leave links in the description. But please, I genuinely feel like you're going to get so much more out of it if you listen to, her story and just kind of get out, all of the barriers that could have just stopped you from making music as a whole. At any point in this story, I was making a bunch of faces, but it really it was so true where you could have just stopped at any point and you could have just been like, listen, this is there's too much crap going on in my life. Clearly this is not where I should be. Right. And I think resiliency is a very underrated word. I feel like there is no word to describe the lengths that you had gone through to still do music. Resiliency is doesn't even come close, right? So
it is. I mean, dude, there's so many people that have gone through so much worse. Again, I'm so grateful. I do believe that God protects us, but He doesn't on certain things because we have to experience this life and experience suffering. And so you were saying that now that you know the story, there's so much more to it, right? And I don't know if you saw the new Hellraiser movie on Hulu.
I've not.
I love it. I'm a Christian. I still watch it, but I love that movie because it's so true. Because the Cenobites are all about suffering and how you learn so much more through suffering and grief and torment than you ever would enjoy sometimes. I don't think joy is even possible unless you know the other side of it, which is suffering. So
I agree.
I totally right. I think about that movie every day, and I'm like, dude, that is so true. That is so true. So bring it on. I'm ready for whatever is to come because I don't know. When you just have faith. You just have faith knowing that whatever's meant to be is meant to be, and I don't have to strive so hard. So even with this new record, I was like, what am I going to do? I don't have the backing. I don't have this. I don't have that. No one takes me seriously. I really hope that I didn't go through this for nothing. And it's crazy because I was just praying a lot about it. And all of a sudden investors start lining up. I literally asked God, I was like, God, if you want this to do something, I need an investor. I was like, Lord, I need $30,000 to make this happen.
I need.
If you want this to happen,
do you want this new music? Yeah.
And I don't know, either through shows or work or private investors that are just you know what, I feel like I'm supposed to do this for you. And
sure,
it do happen. It's crazy. And so I believe that I'm right where I need to be. But yeah, I was writing the biography for this album and trying to put it into words everything that it means to me.
Sure, yeah.
By the end of it, I'm just in tears because I'm bruh, this is a whole novel.
You can write a novel about this, yeah.
Yes, and so there's so much to unpack. But Die for Something is the latest release that I put out with my husband Nesdom, and if you guys want to check it out, please do. There is a really powerful music video along with it, it has a lot to do with the story of me finding out I was sick and
Yeah.
all, idea that I really just didn't want to go through anything and I would have rather given up. So that music video is about what happens if you do give up and what maybe could have transpired. So it's just hypothetical, but yeah, Die for Something was really about like it's placed strategically in my album to be the turning point of the
Nice.
message.
Okay.
So like it's like in thirds. The first third of the album is really powerful. It's really like almost like I don't want to say arrogant, but it's like pride. Like
Yeah.
I'm the best. Blah blah blah. And I don't really think that. I just had to tell myself that to get through what I was gonna do.
Pumping yourself up. You're like in the booth, like, all right.
Yeah, I actually hate myself. I don't really believe that, but I had to tell myself, like, yo, this is your battle. You gotta get ready for the ring.
Yeah.
Songs are extremely defiant. They're very like "Better Run" is the third track on the album, and it's about like you better run because I'm coming for you. So the second half of the second third of the album is all about suffering and grief, and that's the point where you're just like, okay, I'm not that cool. And I actually suck and I'm feeling it right now. And I don't really know if I did this right. And I'm really questioning my own ability.
Sure.
And so that is right after that part of the album where it's like, you know what? I do suck, but God doesn't. So here is why I should stay alive and keep trying to do this, And so my favorite song on the whole album is called "Stronger Than Death." It's the title track, and it's just basically the message at the end in that song versus the message in the beginning of the album is so opposite. So that song talks about like there's a line in one of the first songs that goes, "Pride in my eyes, strength at my side. God, I feel so alive, courage rising inside." So it talks a lot about pride, like
sure.
I'm the best. The last song is like, "Cast me aside and destroy this pride. If love means death, let me die tonight." Or like, "Cast me aside, if heaven hears, I'll come home tonight." So the first one is about surviving and will and trying to live. The last song is like, you know what? I found the meaning of life. I'm ready to die for this. So my goal with this record is to get people in my head of what I went through.
Sure, yeah.
And it's so crazy to me because I feel like what I went through was literally the most impactful learning experience of my Christian faith.
Sure.
And so essentially, I was diagnosed with this genetic disease that was going to make me die. Like
sure.
If we didn't have modern medicine, I would have died at 25 years old at the peak of my life. And without someone coming in and saving me, like my mom, with this sacrifice that I could live. And so I'm like, wow, that's a very literal example of Christianity. And, we're
sure.
born Christ comes and saves us with himself. And so it's just very sobering. And I'm like, you know what? I knew that my whole life. I know the gospel. I know that I grew up in church, but now I know it so much deeper.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I experienced some form of it in my physical body. So yeah, that's why the whole album is called "Stronger Than Death," because it's like I should have died. I could have died. I might have wanted to die, but I didn't. And it's like only by the grace of God. So.
Yeah, no. And I think it's a very appropriately named album, just again going off the information that I gathered from your whole story and what you're about, because they're even listening to some of the songs just kind of as just singles, not really kind of. I'm very much a context guy, so I do love listening to an album front to back. I'm gonna be 30 next year, so nice. I'm old. That's how you know you're old, right? But
I think I'm gonna turn 30 in like 3 weeks. I'm kind of freaking out.
We'll celebrate together. Yeah. So I feel like for me, whenever I have artists on that are telling this story, right? Like whether it be something that means a lot to them personally, or any sort of other example, there's something about just having the context of the album and the way that each song is kind of arranged in that aspect. And I gotta appreciate your willingness and motivation to want to be like, okay, this is the thought process that I have. These are how I want the songs to be. This is how I want people to understand what I've been through. And if they haven't watched an interview of me, talking about my story, I need something that's going to be able to show them that story without me going on the internet to go watch someone talk about, watch me talk about my story, right? And if that's the case too, maybe it might give them more context clues to the album, because they're like, oh my God, I watched this one interview and she talked about her entire story. And now I understand, why, Die for Something is a big song, or why Better Run is an important song in the whole grand scheme of the album. So I do appreciate that. And, I know for me personally, I'm going to take a lot more out of it now, knowing the story, the context, and just the way it's arranged. Again, that's people know I am not shy about being a nerd about music, so this is hitting all the peaks. You're checking off all the metaphorical boxes of things that
I'm just like, bro, if you're okay, if anyone really knows what it takes to be in music, I don't think a lot of them would do it. It's very hard.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, if I'm gonna be an artist, I'm going to be an artist with substance, Like, I'm not just elevating, oh, I'm so cool, I'm going to write about a song, how cool I am. Like, what am I offering people that it moves them?
Sure, yeah.
All I have are my personal experiences, but I'm just like, I'm a artist consultant and also a voice teacher, so I tell my students and clients, I'm like, what is your message?
Sure, yeah.
So, yeah, to me, I write thematically, like, I write albums for themes. I know, like, a lot of bands don't do that. But to me, the album has to have a whole period at the end of the sentence,
Sure.
It has conclusion. This is what I want to say. Love is stronger than death, So that's what the new one is. And then, Red for War is just about defiance and rebellion and a whole I don't know. Like, so, it's just, more chapters are adding on, as I continue. I think my plans for a next release, because this album is actually 2 years old to me already. I finished recording it in 2020. And so I just couldn't release it because I was waiting to see if a label would pick it up, but the world was a mess. And then, like, I was like, okay, I got to get a lot of money. I got to get a lot of funds together. So it's already almost 3 years old to me at this point. Like two and a half. I still love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm in love with this album. I'm very proud of it. But I think for my next project, I already kind of have it planned out, and I'm really wanting to do a metal EP. So I don't really scream too much in this record. Kellen was like trying to make it more mainstream active rock, but I'm a metalcore kid at heart. Like, I love this genre, and I do scream in Red for War quite a bit.
Yes.
And I miss it. So I did like a Taylor Swift cover with a bunch of screaming. That was fun. I do have a brand new metal song that is not on this record that I believe will be on a deluxe version of this album, but making that song made me be like, no, I miss metal. I want to do an EP, like a whole EP at least, of a metal song. So that's probably the next step. So.
That's what we like to hear, Not that, again, the stuff out now, 2 thumbs up, but metal stuff, you listen, again, another box check, that's what I feel.
I love this metal song. So it's called Pile of Pills. I don't even know if I'm allowed to sing this. Who cares, right?
It's yours. So
I guess
you like turn around to your PR team, you're like, oh yeah, I could say it.
Look in the mirror, look at myself.
Can I say, you're like this? Can I say this? Oh, okay, cool.
Right. But Pile of Pills is actually a very angry song, and it's literally about how much I just worked to survive, to afford my pills, my medication.
Oh.
Working my body and hands to the bone just to stay alive, maintain my life, just to survive. So it's very aggressive and it's very angry because it was a very dark place when I wrote it. I was just so frustrated with the healthcare system, with how much everything costs. And yeah, so it didn't match the rest of the songs genre-wise, so I think it's going to be on the deluxe, but probably re-released again on the metal EP.
I hope that the next album is just positive stuff, because, that's... listen, I'm manifesting it for you, all right? That's I sat through this entire story, and I'm just like, holy shit, you know, like I'm like like this. You're like,
I was like, dude, I'm a Christian artist. Like, maybe I should like say something uplifting to my fan base. Suffering and death is how you learn better.
Listen, that's the most metal thing you can be right now. So I respect that, you know. But jokes aside, I do genuinely hope for the general well-being of both you and your husband's life, because listen, I felt like guilt for you, you know, like my guilt was extending through the computer into your computer screen, you know. So
it just now to me, I'm like, girl, you did not have your junk together, like, girl, like what? Yeah.
Well,
so
hopefully you get it all together.
Yeah. I was like, dang, you had a rough time there. Huh?
Then you look back at yourself. You're like, oh yeah, we had a rough time.
Yeah.
So, but listen, it's all part of the journey. You know, I feel like very much similarly to, you know, me doing YouTube. Like after the first year of me doing it, I didn't really feel like it was like something I was interested in. I'm gonna be celebrating 7 years in February, so you know, I feel like it is, you know, it's brought me a lot of positives in my life. So I feel like if I didn't look back on it, and then now, because, you know, the giant 30 is going to be appearing behind me here, you know, I'm like, you know what, listen, like I had spent like 3/4 of my life doing this, like sitting at my computer desk, interviewing bands. I wouldn't trade that shit for anything, you know. That's like one of the best things. And you know,
you know, like I always tell myself, look, this music costs a lot of money to make, but my grandkids can hear their grandma on their voice, you know, her voice. Like you'll have a backlog to show your kids one day.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, I don't want to see this shit, Dad. Come on, get out of here. You know, like this is dumb. We're on to like the next thing that's after TikTok, you know, like the next whatever social media thing, and I'm gonna be like, I remember when I interviewed bands back in my day, you know. I was real popular.
A band? What is that?
They're like, what are bands? They're like, and then it's just like an EDM guy just being like, oh yeah, let's go. Oh yeah.
AI is just gonna be making music at that point.
Yeah. Anyway, we're wildly getting off topic, but it's great. I love it. You know, keeps it fresh. You know, important. But Zahna, I have to ask. You know, we kind of alluded to it a little bit, but who got you influenced in music? Who kind of got you started out, you know, singing your respective instrument? I believe you also mentioned you played a little guitar. Your dad played guitar. So, like, I imagine there was some influence from that. And then who influences your style more currently now?
Sure. Okay, great question. So, like, first of all, I was, like, into acting when I was a kid. At my school, we had, like, these really big musical productions. And I liked acting more, but I had to sing because it was part of the thing.
Sure,
right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I started doing it that way, and they kept giving me bigger and bigger parts throughout the years because they're like, oh, this little girl's good, right? Yeah. And so that is, and then, you know, but like really when I was growing up, I was getting into this artist named Jennifer Knapp. I really liked, there was like a lot of contemporary Christian artists at the time, Oscars. And then in high school, that's when I started falling in love with rock. And so my sister was dating a guy who loved emo and all that good stuff. So I would start to hear all these, like, so my first bands were like May, Brand New, Silverstein. So Your Gun, My Knife is a throwback to Silverstein, Your Sword, My Dagger. Yeah. Best song of them ever, bro.
I knew. I had a feeling. I was like, I bet you this is a Silverstein reference. I'm old as shit, so I know. Like,
to this day, man, that's the best one. Anyway, Seosin, loved Seosin. I loved, and so slowly, Under Oath, and then Under Oath got heavy, so it led me into harder bands like Haste the Day, The Devil Wears Prada. As I Lay Dying, like just more, and then I started going in a more secular route, and I started getting into like Crown the Empire and you know, Memphis Mayfire, and like The Word Alive. I loved The Word Alive. And so, yeah. And then I just, kept. So at that time when I was being influenced by that music is when I wrote what was my first EP that I gave to that band. So, yeah. So nowadays, it's very hard to impress me. Sadly,
Fair enough.
music is like kind of not fun. You can appreciate it anymore. You don't, and you hear everything. And you're like, okay, that dude's way using autotune, or like, they really edited his vocals a lot, like, because I'm a voice teacher, like I have to know this stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And I can tell when it's fake harmonies and all that crap. So it's very hard to find a band that impresses me anymore. But I would say my favorite band is One OK Rock. I just love impeccable technique that he has, but also just I love the songwriting. And I fell off a little bit as a fan. I'll admit I wasn't crazy about their last album. It was very pop, but this album they came back, and I'm like crying in the car listening. I'm like, they came back. My favorite band is back, bro.
I love it.
Yeah, and so other than that, I really don't listen to rock that much actually anymore. Because I'm a voice teacher, I'm really listening to a lot more classical music now. Yeah, it's weird. And then sometimes I do cover gigs locally, not as Zahna, just as my personal name. And I just listen to a lot of popular songs. So it's just whatever workflow that I need. And yeah, but I don't know, man. I really don't listen to rock at all anymore. Kind of sucks. I miss it. Oh, I do like Conquer Divide. I really like the stuff they've been putting out. Love them. Let me see my library, man. I gotta have more than this. I'm so ashamed.
Respect though, I did not know you're a vocal coach, so I feel like that's like that layer of the onion, the metaphorical onion, like that makes sense. Like I feel like you, even probably more so than me, like you're very highly critical about the vocals and the artistry,
And it's like, when you're in the room trying to write the best guitar riff, I swear you've heard every single guitar riff there ever was, But my husband gets mad because he's like, listen to this music. It's so good. I'm like, dude, I can't. The vocalist is terrible. I can't past it. I can't listen to this, And so he thinks I'm a snob. But I'm like, I literally do this as a living. I can't stop hearing the failures.
Yeah.
And I say that, and probably there's 10 fingers pointing back at me. Like, you cracked that one time on stage at a festival you played. Like, yes, I know I'm not perfect in a machine, but I know when I do wrong, essentially. But other than that, I mean, I do music all day, so I really don't listen to it much anymore, unfortunately. Yeah.
That's fair. I honestly feel like if I was doing this for a living, I also feel like I would be a little bit tired of it, but I do it as a fun time hobby thing. So I feel like, but also like music has affected my life in such a profound way that I feel like I'm always going to love it no matter what. Like I could be driving for 10 hours and enjoying like the same album like 30 different listens, or I'm driving to work and I'm listening to an album. Like it's always it's a constant, so
and I do, like, I would just like I would get so intense, and like honestly the only like my old teenage bands elicit that response from me anymore, because like recording has come a long way. Everyone's using the same plugins, the same stuff. Like, it's what I judge is the songwriting and the vocals. And so, like, if the song is good, I'll jam it constantly. But I just find it very hard to find good stuff that I like in rock anymore. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks.
I feel like that's a fair take. Like, I hope that audience do not hate on Zahna. I just want to let you know. Don't leave the comment like this is sus. This is sus. This is sus.
To you, they are. That's great.
Listen, I hope they listen to me. I don't know. They're their own people, so I can put it out there to say, hey, don't do it, But we'll see. I do feel like as a vocalist, as a vocal coach, like I feel there is that level of like, there's that level of respect that you have for your craft, and so if you do feel a certain, especially just that's your career, like that I get it, I feel like I can't pass the judgment, because if you're doing it for a living, like that's what you listen to all the time, so
I like Spirit Box a lot. I don't know why I didn't say Spirit Box. I love their album. The new one they put out was like, I I probably just didn't give it enough of a chance.
The rotoscope, yeah.
And I was like, I don't really hear the songwriting in this, but I knew that they were trying to be edgy and different. So like that was cool that they experimented. But the Eternal Blue is amazing. It was such a good album, and yeah, so that was an incredible release. So yeah, I'm sorry, I had to throw that out there. I'm like, listen, I do like bands. I swear.
I like music. Yeah, like you're like everybody's just like, oh, okay, fine, that's fine. She said she likes Spirit Box. That's good. We'll give her the pass. But I feel like, funnily enough, I'm glad you mentioned Spirit Box because in my head, I always like to kind of like figure out like, okay, what, if I had to pick 3 artists to recommend that you like, if they know these artists, they're gonna like you. Spirit Box was number 1.
Nice.
So that was a good move. I like that. I had Outline and Color. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
I know that name. Yeah, I haven't heard their music.
It definitely reminded me a good amount of that. They have great shouts to the boys. Love them. And then I'm glad you mentioned Kellen because I said Memphis Mayfire on the list.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this. So context clues, baby. We love it. So I feel like, I'm not gonna lie, I felt like I was pretty 3 for 3 on that one,
You're I don't know about Outline and Color, but I'm probably gonna check him out after we're done.
Oh, there we go. And then you're gonna instant message. You're gonna like message me later, and you're gonna be like, Brandon, that wasn't
terrible suggestion.
that was you gotta cut that out. No, and I'm also glad you mentioned Conquer Divide because that was my honorable mention as like I felt like.
Man, so Chemicals and Atonement, powerful songs, man. Like, again, like it's the convictions that the lyrics have. Like,
oh yeah,
like Fox is really cool with their lyrics. They're not so straightforward with them, and it's more poetry and art, which is really cool still. And no one cares about the song "The Summit." Okay, that's the best song on the record, and I don't care what anyone says. It wasn't a single, but it should have been. It should have been. Anyway.
Wow, you really letting it all. You're letting it all out. I love it. You're like, if I'm gonna throw these hot takes on Brandon's podcast, go.
Exactly. Like I have really strong negative opinions, but I won't shut up about it. So
listen, this is great. This is great. Either this interview is gonna do super well, or I'm gonna have so many comments that I'm gonna have to siphon through now.
If they're negative, at least bad press is still press. Okay, at least you get some type of comments on there.
I'm just gonna be like, I'm just here to make a paycheck. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, no. So like, I don't even know where it's going. Yeah, Spirit Box are great. Look, but yeah, lyrical conviction. That's something I really my songs because I'm like, I what a waste to have such an incredible instrument and no instrumentals and no message.
Sure.
Or dumb message, that's like cliche. So I write very much intentionally. There are some people who can tell the clues. Like on my last record, there are 3 songs I put all together in order on purpose, and they were sequels to each other. Oh. And there's some guy in the UK who was writing a review on my album and caught it. And he says, tracks, I don't remember the track listing, but this track was followed by this one. So this was a sequel also followed by a possible sequel of this one. And I'm like, bro, he got it. He understood. So I put a lot of subliminal, anything I do has a lot of intention. And I'm actually getting in trouble right now because in my music video for Die for Something, you can't see it, but behind you is my wall with my records and awards and stuff. And so there's a shot at the end of my music video where I am posting a note on my wall, and my first EP can be seen on the wall, but my Red for War album is not on there. And so people think it was intentional, and that was an honest oversight. That wasn't intentional. They're like, oh, she's getting back at her label because this and this and that. I'm like, no, but I'm not going to stop you from saying that because some of that has some truth in a subtle way. But yeah, so my fans know that, so they're always looking for clues and they want to know the stories behind everything. So I'm like, let's do it, let's talk about it, and hopefully y'all can catch the clues in the album. Yeah.
I feel that, as I had shout-outs to another band, the Wise Man Fears. I had them on. I have them on a lot. they're my bros. I love them so much. But they also have an incredibly engaged fan base where they do a lot of like, they're big fans of like fantasy and like writing that aspect of things, and each one of their albums has like context clues for like the current album that they're working on right now. And
Love it.
I love that you are doing the same thing with your music, where you're allowing the fan base to just do the crazy, like, the meme guy that says aliens. That's what I think of, aliens. That's what I think of.
Because I was one of those kids who did that. I was in the booklet reading every single lyric and looking
Respect.
This is what he means, right? I was detective, okay? Like, so I knew that I did that as a kid. So I want to do that for kids that were like me,
I feel that.
Yeah.
Listen, you're gonna need by the time you're done with this is you're gonna be a private detective, so you'll get like CE credits for listening to Zahna's record, and then you just hand those it's these metaphorical points to Zahna, and then she signs your paperwork saying that you're now a private investigator. So stamp of approval. So now you're a private investigator. You can go do whatever you want now with your life, So just an added benefit of listening to Zahna's record. So I'll leave links below if you'd love to be a private investigator. I couldn't even finish it.
It's college to be a private investigator.
There you go. You can put it. You can put it on your resume. I found all of the secrets on Zahna's debut record, "Stronger Than Death," came out and.
It's like Rick and Morty. They made an episode about a talking cat, and there's no explanation for the cat. They did it on purpose because they want the fan base to make their own theories. And I'm like, I hope people make theories about my songs. I hope it makes them do that. That's the best compliment to me that you could ever give me.
The theories, yeah. Also, I totally get the cat theory thing. My cat is currently laying in the dark somewhere back there.
Interrupt you, be like, is that a cat? But you were like talking about something serious.
Yeah, that's my son Meatball. He was running around the entire floor of my apartment. So big shout outs. He has been a pain in my butt recently, but that is for another day. I could talk about that forever. But Zahna, the next question I have for you is for people who aren't familiar with your artistry and what you do, what song would you recommend to a new listener to check out to give them an idea of your music?
That's a good question. There's eras to every artist's career, like this era was this, and this is defined by this. But I guess currently, because I know what's to come, I'd say the happy medium for both would just be the song "Better Run." That kind of shows like the aggressive, so as a vocalist, I'm very intentional with how I phrase my words in singing, and so "Better Run" is just a very much like, hey, I'm a little midget probably to your eyes, but I got punch in me. So I got punch in my story and my skills and my life experiences. So Better Run is a good one to kind of get to know me, because even like my description on Facebook for my musician profile is aggressive female fronted rock. I'd say I'm pretty aggressive. I'm pretty spicy, but I have a sweet side, sweet spicy that, is very sentimental and compassionate, but I'm very intense, if you haven't been able to tell.
It's just muy caliente,
I have very strong conviction about what is right and wrong, and I love people very deeply, and sometimes people think it's brashness, but I'm like, no, I love you enough to tell you the truth, bro.
I love you.
I love you that much to tell you what you don't want to hear that you need to hear, so I don't know. I think that's a good introduction to kind of this little power punch of a little ball I am, I guess.
Listen, I'm cut from the same cloth. I'm very much like love hard, like I'm very much like, if you're my homie, you're my homie, that's it.
Loyalty, man. Like, I was like, when my band broke up, I was like, these bands ain't loyal. Like, I was going to be loyal to you.
Let's square up.
That's also like, you can be loyal to a fault, but like loyalty to your dreams too. Like, this is why resilience. And it's like, me and my husband are both very intense people, and we fought for each other intensely. So it's like you love hard, you fight hard, and you make music hard with intention. So yeah, that's kind of like Better Run, I feel, would be like the one that it describes me in this era with intensity. Yeah.
I love it. Well, guys, again, I'll leave a link so you can go pre-order Stronger Than Death. It releases on February the 10th of this upcoming year. So make sure to go grab it. I will be doing, which I haven't even told Zahna this, but I'll say it right now. I will be doing a live reaction review of the entire record. So come hang out with me. I'll do it. We'll do it listen, Zahna and I are homies now. So, listen, my word is truth. We're going to do it. So come hang out with me. Come tell me all your theories about the album. And I'm probably not going to be able to help you out with that whatsoever. So, or if Zahna wants to come on and do it track by track, I mean, hey, we could do that too, so.
I'm doing a listening party, and so I should probably send you a copy of the album biography to give you a lot of context to this.
Ooh.
But yeah, honestly, I'm an open book. Like whatever you ask me, totally honest. Like, and people just really need to watch my interviews if they want to know anything about me, because I'm pretty dang open. So maybe people don't like that because they're part of the story and they don't want to be known like that, but it's out there. So yeah, just authenticity. That's my goal, is to be an authentic person. I don't see myself as some huge artist that's so cool. Like, I'm just a normal person who works really hard and has been through a lot of junk, man. So I like to talk about it and write songs about it. But yeah.
I feel that, the heart, I'm very much in the same boat. So, we are one akin, I felt like that immediately. I was just like, listen, Zahna, we're gonna go team is strong, you know what I mean? So I could give you salutes. So that's, for me, it's just like when I see an artist that's dedicated to what they do, that's what I love having here on the channel. Like that's what drives me to have bands on and interview them and continue to interview them over the years, because I think it's like there's so many artists. Like I saw this one post, and I see it fairly often throughout the years, but it's this one post. It was like, if I can find the photo of it or whatever, I'll throw it up on the screen. But it's this world class violin player, and they have this photo, and he's in this subway, and he's just playing the violin so beautifully in the photo, and everybody's just like, you could have listened to this dude for free, in a subway hall, and then people the same night paid $10,000 to go see this dude rip a violin. That shit is wrong.
Guy that is a professional, world famous violinist, and he's playing the subway, and everyone just keeps walking by. But if he plays in the arena, people pay tons of money to go see him.
Yeah.
That's exactly how art is. I know that I'm not, dude, I played really awkward shows. I played shows with nobody there. I played huge shows. It really is just depending what you want out of
sure.
The truth. The truth is welcome sometimes, and people are grateful for the truth, and other times they reject you. And it's not, it's not you they're rejecting, it's your message maybe. And that's, I don't know. So it's for me, sometimes I'm just I'm born in 1993, so I've been
Same.
in the peak of the scene days where music and bands were everything, and now I see people not even going out to shows anymore, and they're just obsessed with Snapchat. And I'm like, people actually care what I have to say? This is awesome. This is great, because we've fallen so far from society where
oh yeah,
cares about truth. They just are about likes and stuff. So I'm super honored to ever tell my story. If it's welcome, I will be glad to share it, So I'm just glad there's channels like this that are still doing that. They're covering bands, because musicians have a lot of stories.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
yeah.
It's I think it's just you find this, and, as I mentioned before, you find this attachment to artists. This is, I was also born in 93 as well. And so, I have this inherent need to know about artists and stuff like that. And I used to buy CDs, and now I buy vinyl, and, I'm very much integrated into trying to support who I love. You know, I do genuinely love all the artists that I have on here. And if I bought everything from every artist I had on here, I'm pretty sure I'd be broke. So
Yeah.
I, do it. I do it with care, but I do inevitably get something just because I feel like, you know, we live in an age where you could stream the music or you could whatever, and those are all great things. I don't want to discount that whatsoever, but to know that, like, if I'm buying a piece of merch or I'm buying a CD or I'm buying my like 500th black and white shirt, that it's going to someone who is going to continue to do what they love to do. And that, to me, I could just pay for the shirt and not wear the shirt ever, but I know that money is going to somebody that loves what they do. And who am I to like get in the way of that happening?
That's awesome, man. Like, most people like just don't even care about anybody but themselves. Like,
Sure, yeah.
It's just like they're not appreciating like art. It's just being taken over by AI, or it's like nobody, like, just unless you're huge and famous. It's like that violin guy. Yeah, if you're not huge and famous, we have to stay. But it's like, if you aren't, you still might have something to say. So yeah, man, I love that support, and a lot of my fans are like that. And I'm not the biggest artist, but they believe in my dream and my music. It's really sobering. I'm like, who are these people who even care about me? And they do. It's awesome.
It's a great feeling. And I think that, like, the more that could be fostered, the more that could be grown. Like, I think it just grows. It goes to show, like, that you want to see them do well. Like, and that I think that's like one of the coolest things about, at least from what I've seen in regards to the scene. Like, everybody here to some degree is very supportive, and so for me, this channel and me doing this for 7 years is just an opportunity for me to give back to the things, that I hold important in my life, so I think, and it's already hard enough for artists as it is to, like, get out there. Why make it harder? Like, I feel like I don't have the biggest artist base here, but I do what I can, and I hope that at the end of the day, someone that watches this interview either A, gets to know more about you, B, checks your music out and is just like, Zahna's the shit, I love her, she's great. Or three, like, I hope that they become a lifelong fan, and that, they can message you and be like, yo, this guy, he interviewed you, he's great, and I really liked your music, and he recommended that I check your band out, and now, like, I'm a new fan, and that's awesome. I always say that, like, that's like my biggest selling point to anybody that watches these. Not that I'm trying to sell you anything, but I would really, like, it's so imperative to support people that do this because they put a lot of time and effort into it. I don't know how much it costs. Like, I kind of have an idea of how much it costs to make an album. I know how much it costs to market because I was a marketing major. I mean, I still am. My marketing degree, yeah, excuse me. Oh, sorry. No, I know what it's like to market bands. And, I've been doing it long enough to know how much time and effort, PR agents are, how much, time it takes to route a tour, how long it takes to put a tour together, figuring all this stuff out. And artists already have enough to deal with, so I feel like this is a good spot to just allow them to, hopefully get to talk about themselves and get more acquainted with, their fan base in that aspect. But as well as that, like, the music is the most important thing, so go.
To me, music is just truth. Like, what truth are you allowing into your heart? Like, it basically paints a worldview for you. So it's like, even though I have songs about suffering and death, like, there is some conviction at the end that you take hold of, so absolutely.
But please go support Zahna. Listen, you already know. Links are in the description. You already know. Go click those links. Go pre-order it. I want to see this. I want to see the pre-order bar just go, like, through the roof, so go support my girl,
gosh, thank you.
But the next question I have for you, Zana, you kind of alluded to it earlier. You did do a Taylor Swift cover song, but if there was another one you could cover, do you have any on the chopping block right now?
I like to do rock versions of pop songs because, you know, it's like, why do a cover of a metal song? Like, it's already hard rock. It's already like that. So there's not like huge difference in that. I would love to do, well, I have a list already. So I want to do a My Chem cover, but an acoustic, like really orchestra cover. Like a
Ooh.
so it's something I've had in the back of my mind that me and my cover partner Steven Osborne have talked about and discussed. We do have another cover in the works right now, which like we kind of lost on the timing of it. It was The Kill plus the new Justin Bieber Kid Laroi song "Stay." It's a mashup. It's like a medley.
Oh,
It was really cool. We're still working on that, but all my parts are done on it. I told him like, bro, I cannot focus on covers. Like I have an album coming out. Like
yeah.
all my resources are going to my album, not a cover song. So, as for like, yeah, I just think Ghost of You would be a really cool. I know there's probably a million covers already, but the way I'm kind of hearing it in the arrangement is like strings, you know, just a very eerie, beautiful.
Yeah.
Symphonic kind of thing. And then I really like the song No Time to Die by Billie Eilish. There's a lot of cool things with that song. And oh man, yeah, I think those are just the two off the top of my head. If I could do a Celine Dion cover rock, I would do it. I would do it. She's one of the best of all time. So
She's the GOAT. You're right.
Yeah, Celine. But yeah, man, I don't think about covers too often because I'm like, people are constantly telling me to do covers. I'm like, okay, I go over the top for everything. Like if I'm doing a cover, I'm going all the way, and that's probably going to cost me. Why would I put resources to cover music of other people's music instead of my music? And like I know that there's a strategy to it. I know it can work. You can get big off a cover and nothing else, though. So it's like,
Sure.
Do you want
slope.
to for covers or do you want to be known for your music? That's kind of where you have to decide. Every artist has to come to that choice and decide.
Sure. Yeah. No, I totally see your stance on this. You know, as someone who has seen the ins and outs of this for arguably 7 years now. I feel like with cover songs, and I always like asking this because, you know, you get a response like that where you're like, listen, do you guys like original music? And I get it. I 1000% I'm on the train with that, you know? But I also feel like for me, if there's an artist that I haven't seen or there's an artist that's new that I'm like, okay, like if someone just sends me a song and they send me a cover song, I'm like, okay, like either they sent me this cover song, you know, and I'm going to check it out and be like, okay, this is solid. But I think for me, when I hear a band live and they do a cover and they do it super well and they do it in their style, they garner a new fan. Like there's something about it because there's something familiar about the cover song. You're like, okay, everybody knows this song, but how are they going to spin it in a way where I'm like, okay, this is different.
Again, yeah. And so like we do our Taylor Swift cover live, and it's I usually bring a guest vocalist on there because it's like a lot of overlap screaming.
Sure.
So I'm like, it's a lot of screaming plus like singing that's very like intentional and intense.
Sure.
So yeah, but and people love it. They go crazy. It's just a very Steven is a very good guitarist, and my guitarists that come out are hired guns, and they're like, bro, this riff changes every single time. So I don't know if they enjoy it because they're focusing a lot. But I do because people like to shout back and
sure. Well, listen, you can follow one of two camps. You could just put original music in the comments, or if you'd like to leave a suggestion for Zahna, drop them down below. Maybe she'll do a cover of it. I don't know. I obviously don't have any say on whether or not a cover song will exist or not. But listen, worst thing you can do is leave a comment, you know? So
leave those comments.
Next question I have for you, Zahna. If you could pick somebody to collaborate with on an up-and-coming Zahna record, who would you love to collaborate with?
Taka from 1OK Rock, bro. I I was thinking about that today. I was like, dude, I get any. I mean, I have my husband already. I wanted to do a feature with him. We're gonna do more features together in the future. But Taka is like, I don't know, the way. You know, you never know who writes in the bands. Maybe he doesn't write, but like I still technically what he does vocally is like right up my alley. And he has the same range as me, bro. Like this is a dude like that can and like literally has my exact same range. So it's awesome. I can sing all their songs perfectly because it's just perfect for my range. So yeah, probably definitely him.
There we go. I love. I also found out recently that they did. I think they did They did some of the songs on Sonic Frontiers. I'm pretty sure, which was pretty neat.
Oh, did they? Okay,
Yeah.
I know that they did a song for some show or movie. Was it The Broken Heart of Gold? Was that for some show?
I'll have to find out. I have to find out.
Yeah, they came out with that single I think last year, and oh my god, it was so good. It makes me cry every time I listen to it. But I think they released it early and they wrote it for some TV show or anime. I can't remember. But yeah, their full album out now is Luxury Disease, and I'm digging into it barely. I think I didn't hear about it when it came out, so really feeling that one if you guys want some good music and knowing my influences. So.
I feel that, you know, I'm a big One OK Rock stan as well, so I can't recommend that.
Yeah.
Great band. But the next question I have for you, Zahna, as you mentioned earlier, you said you're a vocal coach and you do, you know, obviously you teach vocal lessons. Do you find that, I mean, obviously I know artists are always hypercritical of themselves, but do you find that when you are working on music, you're just like, all right, this has to be this or this has to be that? Because I always have, you know, I do have artists on and they want, you know, they have other day jobs that they do, but considering, you know, as we were talking about, this is kind of just like your daily driver, you do it all the time. Do you find that when you're sitting at your desk working on like the next Zahna record, do you find that you're just like extra hard on yourself because you're like, listen, I know what I can do. I know, you know, I know what type of a talent I have. Do you find that like this is just a little bit hard, or do you wind up going to your husband and being like, listen, am I being a little too hard on myself, or can I push it further?
So I'm like as quality control as you can get, but the reason. Yeah, and I hate myself. I'm maniac. I'm very manic. Like one day I'm like, yes, I'm on top, and the next day I'm like, just kill me. I need to die. Nothing I do is right. You know, it's very manic. But I feel like all artists are like that.
Sure, yeah.
Crazy issues and like I don't know. And so I love teaching because it keeps me on top of my stuff. It makes me be better because I have to know what I'm talking about and be able to do it as well and demonstrate it. I think my ear has been more attuned than it has ever been because I've been teaching for 2 years now. And it's forced me to go find new ways to teach it because some people don't get it a certain way. So like I have to go investigate. So I'm doing about 4 to 5 lessons every day, 5 days a week. So like the only thing that's exhausting is like my voice gets tired from 5 hours of talking essentially.
Sure.
So I get little breaks in between, but essentially I think it makes me have to one-up myself for sure. So like what my personal like craft goals are, so I do a pretty good false scream. I'm happy with my scream, but I'm not very good at fry vocal yet. And so my personal goal for my metal EP is to do a variety of different screams and kind of like be like, surprise, here's the progress that I've made personally as a singer.
Sure. Yeah.
So I try to really challenge myself, and I tell my students, hey, if you don't hate what you put out 2 years ago, you're probably not growing. So I hate a lot of my last stuff. It's not bad. It's just some of the decisions I made on how to perform certain things. I was like, why did I do that? Why would I do that? You know, or like decisions on who was on the team that made it happen. Like I'm it's probably no secret. I'm not really a huge fan of the mix of my last album. It wasn't my mixing engineer's fault. My label told them to mix it like that. The guy who mixed my last record also mixed Under Oath, They're Only Chasing Safety. So it's definitely not him, okay? It's not his fault. It was my label, the way they told him to do it, and I didn't have a say in it, so it was very frustrating for me. So it's very hard for me to listen to that album.
Sure.
Good, there's certain things I probably would have changed in hindsight on vocal presentation, but yeah, yeah. If you don't hate your stuff, I tell my students you're probably not growing. So I try to get to the point where I'm doing something new, which is why I appreciated Spirit Box's EP, because it was very, like, I don't know if industrial is the right word, but it was out there, man. It
No,
was
industrial. I'll give you that. Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't like a song really. It was just like, here's these intense sounds. And I don't know what they did in the mix. I don't know, but it definitely sounded different, a little more cutting edge. I just didn't hear the songwriting aspect to it the way I heard in Eternal Blue. But again, I need to listen to it more, essentially. But yeah, I do. There's not a whole lot of pressure. I know that I'm a good artist. I know that, and honestly, music is the smallest part of being an artist.
Sure.
It's really sad. It's like, I can write a song in maybe 5 minutes. Like, I can write a whole lyrical song in 5. I just did it with a student, actually. I was testing her songwriting method, and I said, okay, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to write lyrics. I'm going to give me 5 minutes to write lyrics. I came up with this crazy poem, and she's like, bro, how did you do that? And I'm like, it's literally, music is the easiest part of this. It's the BS, the industry, the marketing, the income you have to make, and how to sustain it. It's the hardest part of doing this. And staying afloat with your personal bills too. Like, it really is owning a business. The product, that's no problem. The only thing that is hard to do is make the money you need to get a good product in the first place. So, you know, I've had people tell me, well, you should just cut costs on recording. I'm like, why would I do that? That's literally what I sell. Okay, I'm not gonna cheapen the product. Like, that's the last, you know. And I worked in restaurant industry for like 10 years. So I know when a restaurant is going out of business when their food gets bad, because they have no other option. They have to cheapen the food quality, and it tastes nasty. And then it's inevitable. There's no return from that. So, like, the moment I stop putting out good recordings, you know, that's when something has gone awry. So I do feel the sense that I need to one up myself, and not, yes, vocally, but also in cutting edge. Like, who are relevant producers today that are doing good work? I need to go find them, book with them, and have the money to pay them.
Sure.
You need to stay ahead of the curve on album artwork. You need, you know, like, even people judge artwork. They're like, I've seen this artwork a million times. You know, I'm bored of this, you know? And there's a huge battle about that with AI right now. Like, a lot of artists are upset. So to me, it's like, I have to one up everything, not just my voice. I got to one up my songs. I got to do surprises. Like, you know, like Better Run. Like, I'll tell you why that music video is white, black, and green, okay? I had no story for it specifically. I had no real, like, intention with it. So I was like, what can I do that's visually going to grab attention?
Sure.
Because that's, you know, and then I ended up putting, like, pandemic kind of symbolism in the video. And I don't know if people caught that. Not a whole lot of people did. But, yeah, it was like, sometimes you just have to go with what is visually striking, and that's your one up, you know. With Die for Something, that music video, I had never attempted a storyline that was that ambitious for my budget.
Sure.
Okay, so I did not have a big budget for that, and I can't believe we did it. I really can't. So I one up myself in that way, that I did a big production, like a movie, with that limited budget. And so I went up myself in different ways. Sometimes it's through video, sometimes it's through artwork, sometimes it's just the concept. The idea is ambitious. Like, Better Run has me on it as a cyber ninja. Like, that sounds so cheesy when you say it, you know? And my video team was like, there's no way this isn't going to come out corny as heck. And I would prove them wrong. And I was like, no, it's going to be good. Trust me. And then they gave me edit back, and then it, like, got semi-viral on Space and Travel, and it's like, gave me a nice paycheck finally. And, like, you know, but, like, you have to take risks like that. So when bands that they take a risk on, I'm like, you know what, good for them. Even though I don't like it or whatever my opinion is, I'm proud that they did that, because if you just keep releasing the same album over and over and doing the same thing, you're just going to retain the same fan base, and you have to grow, you know? So, yeah.
Oh, 100%. I feel like that's kind of similarly to, similarly to myself, where, like, you know, I'll rewatch some of the interviews that I've done over this year and say, like, is there a better question I can ask? Is there a better way I can approach this? And so I find that you are very much in the same lane as that, and I feel like a lot of artists that are dedicated to their craft obviously take the time to do that. So, you know, I think it's just a cool avenue for people to like really understand and you know, especially for people who want to be a musician and want to take it seriously, then, you know, there's a lot of time, sleepless nights, things that you put into doing it. But I think it's very much the eloquent saying is, you know, if you love doing it, you know, you're going to continue to do it, you know, despite what adversity you might face. So, you know, I feel like,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Zahna.
And it's like that's, you know, it's not enough to have good music anymore. You got to be cutting edge. So I love doing artist consultation because I challenge myself on things I tell my people. I'm like,
Sure.
you know what, do I do that? Am I following my own advice? So and it's cool because I don't think I would have people paying me for my opinions if I wasn't doing something right, you know? So I also gauge my work on that. Like, how much work is that bringing me in? Like, a music video has terrible return of investment. Like, you're really not going to see a whole lot, but it shows people your face and
Yeah.
it gets people excited. You make returns in other ways, you know, if you have that set up. Like, if you have a merch store, if you have something like lessons where you can offer people that love your work, you know? So that's what I try to do. I try to make several different streams of income for me to be able to do this, which is a passion project. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and work. But the thing is, the people who make it in music don't have a plan B because they can't fail. They have nothing else. So like my whole life, I've asked myself, besides being a singing voice teacher, what would I do? And like the only thing I could think of was like maybe work at a church because like that's where my degree is in. But like I don't even think I could do that.
Sure.
I just have a wider world view than like I don't want to stay in a local area. I want to travel. I feel like I have a message that needs to be heard by a lot of different people.
Sure.
So different walks of life. So that's why I have to make it work. You know, it's like that resiliency is like you have to find a way because what is the alternative?
Yeah.
There's not one. So yeah,
It's do or die.
It's do or die, exactly.
Yeah. So again, Zahna putting it all out there. Respect. You know, it got real serious. You know, she wasn't cracking the smile. She was being real 100 with you guys.
Mode right there.
That was, you were like, you turned the switch on. You were just like, listen, Brandon, you asked the question. Now I'm going to hit you with the deets. And then wham, you just out of nowhere.
I told you I'm intense.
It was like, it's almost as if I didn't even have to ask you anything. It just the gears turned in your head, and I could see it in real time. And I was just sitting there like, oh my god, she's really just like rocking it. You know?
I'm a preacher for a reason to deliver. No, but my husband probably would tell you, yeah, she talks a lot, doesn't she? But I get paid to do it. So
hey, so it's fine, you know. It's all good, you know. All content's good content here, you know. So I'll take it. But the next question, Zahna, you know, listen, we had a real serious moment here, and I loved it. But I'm gonna completely disengage that serious moment and talk about arguably one of my favorite things, nerd stuff. So I have a question for you. If you could be a video game character, who would you be, Zahna?
Link. Link.
I shouldn't have even asked. I kind of had a feeling.
I mean, Zelda's cool too, and she's feminine and she's cool, but like Link is just the master of. Yeah, I love him because he's like, okay, he has this destiny and he gets reborn and it's the same destiny over and over and over. He like never quits. You never hear him complain because he can't talk. Okay,
he goes, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, look, the fate of the world is at stake and rests in my shoulders. I just got to go save the princess and, you know, do my mission, you know? I'm here to do a job. So I feel like Link in a lot of ways. Oh, my goodness.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Goodness.
Meatball.
Where are they?
There you go.
They're down. They're
Here you go.
God.
Did you get up?
Oh, that belly. You're so cute.
There you go. I'll let you go. Okay, you're going to probably meow
Beautiful
like 20
baby.
more times. That's my guy. Anyway, you can continue on, Zahna. I know.
No, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, man. The dude is just, he's not super. He's just really, like, he's just really good and humble. And that's what I guess I'd want to be. I just want to go, I love solving the puzzles in the game and exploring and gathering and doing all the side quests. So I definitely say Link for sure.
There we go. Respect. Let me see if I can. I do have it. Oh, I have it down here at the bottom of my desk. So.
Hey, oh my gosh!
Hello.
I have so much memorabilia. So me and my husband we're like, if we have a baby, it's gonna be Legend of Zelda themed baby room, and because I have a lot to hang up, I have a lot of things. So that way we don't spend money.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Listen, I'm not even. I'm invested already. So 2 thumbs up for me. I'm about it. So, this is great.
No, I don't know. I have too much stuff of Zelda. It's all packed away in a box because it was in my parents' room, and I'm like, where do I put this stuff?
And you're like, man, in the baby room.
In the baby room.
Yeah, hell yeah, let's go. I love it.
But no, Legend of Zelda literally led me to my destiny. Like if I hadn't been playing Twilight Princess at that time of my life, and I was playing Majora's Mask right before that, and that whole, I don't know if you know this, behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Come on, listen, Zahna. Come on. You're preaching to choir. Come on,
okay.
girl.
I know. The 5 stages of grief in Majora's Mask was what I needed in my life. Because
yeah.
I was breakup that led to the album, and then I was playing Twilight Princess, and it led me to the band, it led me to my destiny. So, I don't know. This game means a lot to me. So I just had to put that out there.
Big respect, I am no shy shill of saying that I love Nintendo stuff. It's goated for a reason, So listen, that's my jam. I love Nintendo stuff. So great story. I'm glad that Nintendo, or more specifically Legend of Zelda, had an effect on your life. Much so to kind of mirror your life in that aspect. So I like that. That's great.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's been in my life at the right moments, something that I needed. That game gave to me. I don't know why. Yeah.
I feel that. Well, great answer. Love it, and I also love that it ties into your story as well. But the next question I have for you, Zahna, I'm sure you've been asked this before, or maybe not. Who knows? If you were to compile a dream tour, including your band, who would you love to take on tour with you?
Oh man, I don't know. Oh my god, you.
Did I break you?
I would say One OK Rock is good. I mean, I'm really giving them a lot of love, man.
It's all right.
For sure, but my husband has always wanted to tour with bands like Killswitch Engage and Shinedown. Those are his favorite bands, ever. So I'd probably give one of those bands a slot, so he'd be happy.
Okay.
He's my drummer too, so he's
That's
a singer,
cute.
and he's my drummer. So we're on tour together all the time, so it's great. And he's an incredible drummer. So he loves them, and then I don't know, man. It's kind of a loaded question because I used to idolize bands a lot, as a young kid, and now I just know more about how this works. And
sure.
Some of them I'm I don't know if I should trust you as a human being, and I don't know if I would be friends with you in real life.
Okay, excluding the whole
Okay,
this, you got real into the weeds with that one. I'm just sitting here who would you love to tour with? And you're I don't know if I can trust these people. Are these people going to turn around and change my life?
Dude, don't meet your heroes, man. Just don't sometimes, because you don't really know, It's anyway. I don't want to do that. Dude. I mean, there's so many.
One OK Rock was just about to be oh yeah, oh no, sorry.
Well, I haven't met them. I'm still in love with them. I don't know if I should meet them.
You're not giving them much help, I don't think.
Evil dark corner. Oh, God.
I could just imagine you're just having this. We're having this video conversation, and can just imagine one Zahna on your shoulder that is the devil, and just listen, they're gonna tell you all of these nice things about your band, but in reality, they'll go on Twitter and say, "We really fucking hate Zahna. She's terrible." And then the angel, on their shoulder is "No, Zahna, they're great. They're lovely people. I don't know why you would ever think that about people. That's terrible." And then they both get into arguments.
People I contend with in myself. It's sad, man. Like when you've just been through what I've been through, like
Sure.
disappointed,
I
like
don't
you
want to
see
discount that, you know.
bad, like really ugly things, man. And you're like, why do I know this? And it's probably why I don't listen to music that much, because I don't. Maybe it brings up PTSD in me. I'm afraid to like people and trust again.
It's okay. It's okay. I only felt a little hurt by that, you know.
Ignorance is bliss, my dude. Like anger, I wish I could. Sometimes, but yeah, I guess all my teen bands, like I would go out with Brand New, Seosin, Silverstein, May, The Devil Wears Prada, Under Oath, like Norma Jean. You know, I'd love to go out with Spirit Box, One OK Rock. You know, I would love to go out with Memphis Mayfire. Like I would dream to be, you know, on tour with my producer, and you know, Matty Mullins. He's let me stay at his house, and he's awesome. Like. And I love Post Malone, and I like Cardi B, and I like all these weirdos too. Like I don't know. It's strange.
This is. Yeah. You know, listen. The thing that brings up a larger topic about, like, I think, like, I understand your position. Like, I feel like based off of what I've known about you for sitting with you for over an hour and a half now, like, I get it. You know, like. I understand your reservations about everything or most things within the music industry. I probably would feel the same way if that were me too. But I also feel like because I'm in the music business, like I also see it. But then I'm also like, you know what? Listen, like. People always are like, oh, well, do you get upset if like bands say no to do this or do something, right? And I'm like, oh no, I never take it personally, because I'm like, A, it goes through so many channels. B,
Yeah.
it's just like, you know, like I'm very much a person of manifestation. Like I believe that I'm going to, if I say I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna fucking do it. You know, like I'm very much in that lane, and I feel like if I was in a position where I was hurt, you know, I would probably shell up, you know, I probably would be like, you know, hold the cards close and be like, here you go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I do, but like when you know the truth, you're just like, oh, they definitely didn't write that song. Like how many of the bands that I like didn't even write their own songs? Like, you know, like we may not know. And yeah, so I don't know. It's like my experienced self is telling me, don't be so naive, bro. They're not really like that, or like they don't care about fans. Like I know bands that don't care about their fans, like at all. Or they use the guise of even like Christianity to like sell stuff to their fans, you know. You know, and whatever, man. There's pieces of crap everywhere in every industry, you know. But it's just, I just remember being so naive, and like I miss it. Honestly, I wish you could go back, but it kind of just started with how my band ended, how it broke up, and like just all the things that I saw or heard, or other bands that are bigger that I know that I talked to, like, dude, this is what happened, not that. And I'm like, no way, that happened. Like, bro, like and the truth isn't even out there. No truth, like, and they never will because they sign NDAs. Like, just gut wrenching. You're just like, I don't want to live on this planet anymore. The corruption is insane. And if music is like this, can you imagine like Hollywood and politics, those realms, like times 1,000?
Oh yeah.
Ask me. So yeah, like Better Run is about that. Actually, it's about people who are in positions of power that take advantage, and they do really shady stuff, man. And they'll never get caught. And it's bothers me so much, and I'm like, I can't even take this person on, so what's the point of me even ruining my career just to expose them? It's there's no point. Like, just move on, stay away from them, and don't use them ever again, or don't have to work with them.
You got to see the course.
I love being independent, because no one can ever tell me I can't have, well, I'm married now, but no one can ever tell me not to have a boyfriend ever again, okay? And no one can tell me how to market my stuff, okay? And no one can tell me that I have to do it a certain way. So there's a in being independent, and it's the hardest thing you're ever going to do, but it is so rewarding, to the point where I'm like, I feel bad for people who are on record labels. I really do. They don't have a free agency to really do what they want to do.
Yeah.
So
I've heard my fair share of stories myself, so I you know, I know what it's like, you know, but also at the same point too, like, I don't know. I guess being in the place of not, I'm not signed to a label. I'm not, I just do this because I enjoy music, and that may jade me to the fact that, but you have off conversation calls, about stuff you've talked about, or like stories or whatever. And I've talked with other people who are on labels. I've talked to people who are on labels that have experienced those sorts of hardships and stuff. But a very easily you can get into this headspace of like, this shit sucks and I'm
Mhm.
never gonna get out of it. And like, I get what you're saying about having like, having the kind of like metaphorical world against you in that aspect. um but I also feel like, I think it's not impossible to find people who are genuine about doing this. And I think when you find the people that are really genuine about doing what they do, or loving what they do, and I feel very fortunate to have had a lot of artists on here that are really genuine to being a part of the scene, like supporting their local scene, supporting artists, that like blow up or whatever. And I think it kind of goes back to my ethos on doing the channel, is just like, my whole thing is this is not mine really, it's a community, and I want people to appreciate music regardless of if it's for me or not. Like, there's plenty of people that tell me like, why didn't you shit on this album, it's terrible. And I'm like, it's not for me. This is
Yeah.
not, like, I can listen to this album and say this is great writing, but maybe this just isn't for me, or like the music really isn't for me. But there's somebody out there that's like, oh, this is my jam, I love this, and I'm not gonna stop. It doesn't bring me any joy to be like, I don't like this or whatever, And if I don't like it, I'll just not won't even put it on the channel, I'll just be like,
Yeah.
hey, I think this is good, but I was like, it could be better, and here's why I feel like it could be better, And I think there's just like, I think there's this level of camaraderie if you like, even if you don't like the song, like, put it out there and at least have your honest opinion about it. Don't try to sugarcoat it. Just, if you're being honest, I don't feel like people aren't going to come after you and be like, listen, did you really like the Zahna songs? Like, are they great? And I'm going to be like,
Mhm.
nah, they're great. They're impeccable. Chef's kiss. But like, if I genuinely had like, because even like with Your Gun My Knife, I was just like, okay, I can hear it, this song is an older song, like this has this sort of way about it. And like, listening to some of the newer songs like Better Run or Die for Something, like, you can hear, as I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, you can hear that evolution, the way that the songwriting has gotten better, the way that the production value has gotten better. And, as you mentioned earlier about being a vocal coach and just trying to like one up your game with each release, I
Mhm.
can see that. Like, you can hear it, you can see it, you can see all of these things where you're taking that, you're taking that effort of creating something and really being concise with it. And, not to make this conversation full circle, but yes.
No, yeah, absolutely. And going back to kind of what you said about like there are genuine people out there, 100%. Like there's a lot of crazy people and there's a lot of really good people out there. Like Kellen is one of them. Like
Oh yeah.
Kellen really actually felt like, dude, this guy, I'm not just a paycheck to him. Like he genuinely cares about this record and
Sure.
wants to make music. So like I really vibe with him because he has high standards and so do I. And so like he did everything in his power to give this album a best chance possible. He
Sure.
didn't ask time from me until he was ready, until I was ready. Like
Sure.
it was very surprising to me because I was like, bro, you're in such a big band. Like, why do you even take a chance on a small artist like me? Like,
Yeah.
and at that price, like I don't know. So I really just want to give him a shout out because and so many others. There's also so many others that have housed me or believed in me or like given me any donation, that driven out to my shows 4 to 5 hours just to come see me at some rando bar. Like, like I'll never
Yeah.
forget this. I never take them for granted. The people that help pay my music bills on Patreon every month who genuinely care and dissect my songs, like,
Yeah.
the fans. And so there's really good ones and pretty bad ones out there. So I think for me, the reason I do vocal coaching and artist development is because I hope to one day be the last line of defense to someone who is maybe going to be preyed upon by the industry. You know, I want to elevate myself to protect others, that
Sure.
just so they can go through what I've been through.
Sure.
You know, that they
Yeah.
so, like, honestly, that is, you know, people think it's selfish, especially as a Christian, to be like, well, why do you want to get huge? Why do you want to get big? I want to get big so I can help people that were like me, that were
Yeah.
nobodies, that maybe weren't even that great, and that mentored them. So I think
Yeah.
mentorship is big. So if I ever do get success, you know, I made a pact with God. I said, if I make it, I'm going to help everybody I can to make it. Whatever that even means. I don't know what making it means anymore. Like, honestly, I just feel like making it means you can pay your bills with music. That's what I think it is.
Amen.
No, but yeah, I really love doing the coaching thing, because it's like, you know, and that's so misused these days. Like, everyone's a life coach now. Everyone has a podcast. Everybody says they know the secret to life. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even like that term, coach. I like to be a teacher more, like,
Sure.
because it's very constructive. It's very objective, you know, the technique. But, you know, to me, I'm just like, there's so many scams in the music industry. Oh, pay us $1,000 and we'll go put you on our Spotify playlist. Like,
Yeah.
such a, like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I'm not gonna do that anymore. Like, but yeah, so it's just to be a resource to other musicians, to have somebody believe in them, because I knew that there were people that believed in me along the way, and they made all the difference, you know. And they
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
today, and they're like, I'm so proud of you. You're amazing now. And I'm like,
Sure.
that you did that. You helped me get here. So yeah, there's a lot of good people out there for sure.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, and you know, I'm very grateful to be a part of your journey now, you know, so, you know, dedicated from fan for life. You know, I felt a little slighted about the podcast thing, you know, that just kidding. I feel like my whole goal of this interview is just to, like, anytime Zahna goes into like full like business mode and she says some shit that I'm just like, yo, you know, I don't know if she's trying to slight me on this a little bit, because I was like, you said, yeah, I don't know about these podcasters, and I'm like,
No, my husband has a podcast too. I've been asked to start a podcast. I'm like, come on, man. The world doesn't need another podcast. They don't need to hear. I'm in interviews enough. Like, no, but I'm a coach, dude. So if you're a podcaster, I'm a coach. So we're both apparently here.
I was about to be like, yo, Zahna, all right, you know.
All right, I'm out.
I feel like that was strike two, man. You know, like I'm.
I don't offend my host. Goodness.
No, I'm kidding. It would take a lot more to offend me, but no, I was like, man, she's like really going in right now. But you know, I'll give her. You know, I'm gonna let her tell me. You know, I want to see where this is going. So
Bottom line, yeah. I told you I'm intense, man. I got the steak knife and the fork. I'm ready to go into this meat. I'm ready to go into the substance of
I love it. Well, the next question I have for you, Zahna, there probably won't be too much substance on this one, but what is your favorite TV show, favorite movie?
Oh my God, bro.
Oh, maybe not. This may be substance.
So I hope my Christian fans will get mad, but I really like adult animation. I like South Park and Rick and Morty a lot, and I love Solar Opposites. Those are probably my favorite shows. And then I like a lot, even though they're replacing Henry Cavill. I was so mad about that. And yeah, so those are like the main ones right now. And yeah, I'm really into South Park right now. I thought it was like this really inappropriate show, but there are way worse ones. And so as a 6-year-old, I'm like, I was sheltered, man. I was sheltered.
Oh, I
don't know a lot of what I miss, you know, and I feel like I'm mature enough and adult to kind of check it out now. So yeah, I'm really enjoying South Park actually, because there's so much truth in the comedy of it. Like, it's amazing, like how they spill truth in like, they're about current events, you know, like it's hilarious to hear their perspective. So I love that show.
I gotta agree. I also grew up very sheltered as well. So like, you know, I also didn't get, like, people would be like, oh, did you watch like The Simpsons or whatever? And I was like, I didn't start watching that until like, you know, I was in my young adulthood, you know. So I feel like Missed the
didn't let
boat.
watch Sailor Moon. They thought Sailor Moon was like demonic, you know, and maybe
Oh,
but like you chew the meat and toss out the
I was
bones.
gonna say exactly. Yeah, well, listen. My parents told me I couldn't watch like Harry Potter, so you know,
Me too.
hey, one a kin, baby. Let's go. I love it. You
I
know.
watched Harry Potter, all of the movies about last year.
Yeah,
When I was
same,
this last year I saw
same,
all of them for the first time.
same.
Crazy.
We were in sync. You know, the minds were in sync. We didn't even know each other. We're like Harry Potter movie marathon. Let's go. You know, so.
Yeah, man, I know. So yeah, I'm getting into those shows, and yeah, there is substance to it. There's a reason I like them for sure.
Respect. The next question I have for you, Zahna, this is going to sound a little bit like, you know, I'm not even going to try to say the word because I'm going to screw it up, but I'm not even I'm done. I can't say it. The question I have for you, Zahna, is if you were trapped on a desert island for the next month and there was one album you could bring with you to listen to, what album would that be? This I feel like this one's gonna be, you're gonna think about this one for a while, I think.
I'm gonna pick One OK Rock Luxury Disease Japanese version because they have more on there than just
You're
Luxury
right.
Disease English version, bro.
Pro
And
tips.
Using the Japanese in it. That's what I would do for a month. Just start learning all the Japanese. Give me something to do.
I love that. And yes, again, pro strat for anybody who is a One OK Rock fan. Japanese version only. I'm sorry, you know, I'm saying it.
So I went on their profile because I had seen Luxury Disease Japanese version. I didn't even see their English version. I had to specifically look it up by name. And I gotta say, the Japanese version is slightly better, man. It kind of is.
It slaps.
No lie.
As the kids say, it slaps, you know. So I agree. The Japanese version, primo stuff here, you know. So again, if you're a brand new fan to One OK Rock, which again, I don't know why, you know, no pun intended, why you would be sleeping under a rock, but it's time for you to unlodge yourself from said rock and listen to One OK Rock because they're great. Guys, if you'd love to count however many times I said rock in a specific amount of the sentence, you know, let me know in the comments. I've said rock way too many times, but I love their stuff, but I feel like the Japanese, like, because I had listened to one of their albums and I can't remember it off the top of my head, but they released like an English version. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And then I listened to the Japanese version of that same album and I was like, yo, this is so much better.
So their album Ambitions is like one of my top albums of all time, and like I saw a live video of them doing We Are in Japanese in concert, and like I'm like crying, and I see like this Japanese guy in the crowd, and you see his eyes, and he's just watching, and you see them, they're wet, and I'm just like, that gets me, that gets inside of me, and I'm like, this guy, I don't know this guy, I don't know his story, but like, is amazing.
It's
and
the emotion.
I can do that to somebody else with my music, like, goal completed. Like, that was my mission on this earth. Like, you know.
Your boy was crying on stream like a couple weeks ago to the Dayseeker record. Oof, that one.
Oh, loves that.
That one, you know, parallels. Your boy was, I was, you know, waterworks, straight crying on stream. So, you know, listen, music can affect you in that sort of way. You know, that's a special bond. You know.
It gets inside of you. Yeah, One OK Rock has definitely done that. A lot of bands have done that, though. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just emotional, like very emotional, and I'm just like.
Well, listen, you're in the right musical genre. I feel, you know, for that.
Right?
So.
I mean, I feel like I could write a country song if I wanted to. I could do it. I really think I could. There's like a dark pop song I put on this record, and I like to challenge myself with that. But I'm like, rock is just so dear to my heart. Like, there's a certain rock beat that gets me. And like my husband, like I'm listening to a song and I'm like, man, I really like this song. And it's not a rock song, but he's like, this is a rock beat. This is why you like, this is a drummer. And I'm like, bro, so like there's just certain beats that resonate with you in your soul.
Oh yeah. The lyrical impact like that. I have a list of songs I really can't listen to anymore because they'll come out of my eyes, so and also side tangent, I did think of another band. If you are a fan of this band particularly, you're gonna love Zana as well. It's this band called Rivals. I don't know if you've heard Rivals or not.
Oh yeah,
Shout outs.
did a shirt design for me, dude.
Hey.
That record was amazing, man. So I saw a Facebook ad for Low, and I think I'd seen their name around, but I hadn't I only knew they had like that cover by Heathens, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. But like Low got me hooked, and I was like showing my husband, I was like, babe, listen to this song, this is amazing. And then you hear Moonlit. Oh my god. And Sad Looks Pretty on Me was actually very interesting. It didn't resonate with me right away until I was going through this horrible depression. It was like in the low years we talked about. And I was like, dude, that's what song is it? She's like, wearing Gucci in this chapel, knowing I can't change things. I think it's called Can't Change Things or something like that. And I was like, bro, I feel like that. Like I was in that moment emotionally because I was like, sometimes I wish I would have died so I didn't have to go through all my health garbage and everything. And I was like, if I did, what would that do? What I would see everyone in that funeral home just like, why did I do this?
Yeah.
And that really, influenced Die for Something, because in the music video is basically kind of a hypothetical near-death experience.
Sure.
Where like, I made good on that promise and I just ended it. And, I think that it's so crazy how God works because everything that happens to you really does just lead you to these conclusions. And sometimes it takes years for these realizations. And it's just too fresh and it's too in front of you. But with time and perspective, you're just like, that's why that happened. I see now. And you grow up. So I don't know, man, I'm going to hit 30 in 3 weeks. And I'm just like, we've come a long way, man.
And that was a very sad clap because I also going to be turning 30 in March, and I'm just like,
oh my gosh, yeah.
That was the most honest response I could have given you because
it's bittersweet and it's like it's emotional and you're like, dude, I can't believe I've survived this long. Like, I didn't have like a very hard childhood, but like I've been through some stuff and I had to make a decision. Like this last year, my depression was like at its peak last January, like almost a year ago now. And I was like doing so much work for Zahna with very, very little fruit or reward for it yet.
Sure, I feel, yeah.
Constantly, like my day job plus voice lessons plus my music plus being a wife. I really didn't talk to anybody. And so I just got so depressed because of my workload and not even knowing if it was going to do anything, man, And I was like, I'm already over this album. I don't even know. There's so much to do. And so, yeah. And I'm like, now with time and distance, I'm just like, I don't know if I was depressed because I hated music or depressed because I wasn't doing enough music.
Sure.
It was paradox. I was like, look, I wasn't touring or anything. And I was like, I either hate music with a passion because of all the BS I've been through and the trauma, or I'm just not doing it enough right now. And I'm not in shows. I'm not remembering why I'm doing this. And so, yeah, I had to make this weird decision about what I believe in. And I was like, look, I can believe that everything I've been through so far in my life was just happenstance and just there was no meaning to it.
Sure.
That's very easy to believe, okay? And the more I did that, the worse my depression got. And I was like, there was no why to anything anymore. It's like, oh, Susie, you're not special. It just happened this way, okay? Like, you just got lucky. Or, like, God doesn't really have this plan for you like you think he does. Or, like, and it was, like, just defeating thought after defeating. And I was trying to protect myself from maybe a truth that I didn't want to realize.
Sure, yeah.
And so when I was like, okay, stop protecting yourself, believe the worst to protect yourself from hoping, that actually didn't help at all. And it was like the worst, probably the peak of everything. So when I was talking to my friend about my issues and my depression, and I was like basically paralyzed from anxiety. Like I couldn't even get out of bed. I was like, every time I tried to, I'd be like, there's no way. There's no way out. I was just so overwhelming thoughts. So I would just stay in bed and just do nothing.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I was like talking through it with a friend, and because I like was losing weight, I was getting sick and just it was taking a toll on me. And she's like, okay, like write out a list of all the things that give you anxiety. So I did. It was a long list. And the
Yeah.
first one, like, my life has no purpose. That's the thing that I have anxiety about. And I think that, and she was like, look, let's say you are wrong. Okay, whatever. But what does it hurt you to believe that maybe this is for a reason, and all the things we've been through have a purpose to help
Yeah.
somebody,
Yeah.
and to believe in your dreams still, even though no labels have come alongside of you. Like, why does it, who cares? No one can ever know if God is true or real or not. No one has proof and no one can disprove it. So you have to make a choice of what you believe in, even if you're right or wrong. Like, you have to decide. So I feel like a lot of people are paralyzed. They don't want to be wrong, but at the same time, them not choosing is also inhibiting them.
Sure. Yeah. And
Yeah, go for it.
no, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like when you're in a position like that, it can seem like debilitating, right? Like you're like, I don't know what to do, and I kind of felt, I probably around the same time you felt it, was just, doing the channel. I was just like, what is, this is something that I love to do. This is something that I considered doing for, a very long period of my life, just something that, is just a cool icebreaker where people ask me, like, what do you do for fun? And I'm just like, yeah, I just interview musicians, whatever.
Yeah.
But it brought me a lot of, it had brought me out of and continues to bring me out of bad places in my life. This is something that has always been a large center point in my life. And for me, like, that was kind of my whole world collapsing, where I was like, what's touring going to be like, if the pandemic exists? Like, are bands going to be releasing music? Are we going to see live music again? Are we going to do all this sort of stuff? And I had a lot of sleepless nights where I would just be like in bed being like, man, what am I going to do? Am I done? Is this over with? Like, and not that like I had to feel like this was like my calling or whatever, but like I felt so dedicated to it that it's just like losing that dream on something that,
Yeah.
you've spent a lot of heart and a lot of time and a lot of effort and unfortunately money you put into it, and
I mean,
and so I feel the same way you felt, where, you get debilitated and you're just like, man, I'm like, this hurts me so much. Like, but I feel like in those times, very similarly to your story, is where you find that resiliency to like carry on and want to do it. Like, there's just something about it that just grows inside of you where you're like, listen, this is terrible. This is a terrible thing that's happening. But like, how can I flip it in a way that's going to like positively motivate me to do the next thing? And I feel like we're on that arc, the Zahna arc, so I love it.
Wow, and now that I think about it, so that started like January 2022 was when I had depression. It was all the way till July, and I had this huge, not even a huge tour, just a 10-day run. I was getting a guarantee in Montana, and I had to book dates all the way up and down.
Oh, wow.
And this is still, touring is like still fresh, man, like back from the pandemic.
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
The price of gas, and I was like, I wanted to take a crap every time I saw gas price. I was like, dude, I'm just gonna crap myself. Like, I can't. We're not gonna afford this. This is not gonna work, And it's already booked. It's like the anxiety, man.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
It was like constant for 6 months preparing for this tour and not even having a record out. Like, why are we going to do this? I don't know, but they're paying us, so let's go. And we got this new record out. We have so much overhead. How are we going to do this without a label? Blah blah blah. And it was so weird because I was dreading the tour so much to the point I was so nervous, like butterflies in my stomach every morning. When I got on the tour, I don't know what happened, but maybe it was just the guys we brought out. We had these new hired guns that we'd never used before, and they were just such a blessing to me. They were like so happy and ecstatic and excited. And
That's
they weren't
great.
all from the music industry because they had never toured before. They're just like in local bands, and they're like, we get to do this. This is awesome. It invigorated me so much. And I was like, dude, the things I take for granted, I take this so for granted, and this is other people's dream.
Yeah.
So like when I got off that tour, I had this like huge realization, like my depression honestly lifted because I remember what it was like to speak to people on stage about my faith and my story and God.
Mm-hmm.
And I like, this is what I'm meant to do. So that's when I realized I wasn't doing enough music. That's why it was depressing. And I had it backwards in my head, actually. And music was just the symptom of a very much deeper issues that I have.
Sure. Yeah.
Trauma, and so yeah, I don't know, man. It was, and then like after that tour, all these good things started happening and all these things started working out. So I don't know if I even could have quit. I think I would have if I had the option in those 6 months, but I couldn't because the record was already done.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I had to, so there was no turning back. So I don't know. I never want to be in that place again. If I'm being honest, like I don't care if there's some life lesson in it. I'd never want to do it.
I don't blame you, especially hearing it all. Like I feel like I wouldn't want you to experience that again. So
I'm like, enough.
On to greener pastures. That's what I'm trying to believe for you for going further. But Zahna, I close a majority of my interviews out with this question. I picked it up during the pandemic just because I felt like it's appropriate, and it just has made its way into every interview since then. So it's a permanent question that will remain on here. But first of all, I appreciate you for coming on and talking about your story because it's awesome. And everybody on here who has spent the time, thank you for spending the time. Go check the links for Zahna, and we'll talk about that in a second. But we went through a bunch of different things from starting out to your journey and to where you are at now. We talked in depth about your whole storyline and stuff like that. But I love asking this question because I am so dedicated to doing this, and I love doing it, and I can't imagine myself doing anything else. What pushes you, or what type of dedication are you taking that you want other people to understand about your music and like why you choose to do it? Because I feel like we can talk about like, oh, this was a great joke that Zahna and you made, or like this was a great conversation, or like whatever, but at the meat of it, why do you create? Like, why is this something that is important to you? Because obviously I could speak about why I love to do this, but why do you love creating music? Why is this such a major part of your life?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brandon. I think it's pretty intense as all my answers will be. Okay,
It's all right. I'm buckled in. We're ready. We're ready to enjoy it. I'm ready.
Yeah, and I don't want to. I'm so tired of like walking on eggshells about why I do this. So I'm just gonna be straight up. Like I really believe in purpose and destiny. You can hear that a lot of those elements in my album. But
yeah.
I think a big reason I chose Christianity and is because before I really believed it for myself, not just was raised with it. I really just felt very empty as a person, and I felt like this weird void. Like I really had no idea what the meaning of life was. I didn't know why I was alive, and I was just kind of like, if life is just all about working until you die, then why are we doing it? There's no deeper purpose, And it really feels like the Matrix. Like the Matrix, like. There has to be more than this, right?
Sure, yeah.
My favorite trilogy of all time, because I that was me. I was like trying to wake up out of the Matrix. I was like, why are we doing this? What is the meaning?
Sure, yeah.
And when I read the Bible and started like, I don't know, like I just started, that hole in my heart started filling up kind of, and I started to like read what Jesus was talking about the kingdom of God and the kingdom of heaven, how that's more important than selfishness and yourself. And so that's when I really started feeling that peace, that sense of peace. And like when I used to have a lot of existential dread, those answers were coming to me now. And so as I was growing in my faith, I was highly influenced by music. That was the thing that got me. And I just do what I know worked for me. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Do this. So I really feel like the reason I'm so about truth is in music is because I'm trying to lead my listeners to a deeper truth about themselves or about existence, whatever they're looking for. I hope that somehow I can tell them my story and all the things that have happened in my life to hopefully point them to a bigger truth that they hopefully will come to conclude themselves, for themselves. Not because the church told them to, not because their parents told them to, but like know the truth for yourself.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I don't know. I think that's my purpose on this earth, and I just hope that I can help others find their purpose, whatever it is, because I know what it's like to live without that, and it's horrible. It's very empty.
Yeah, no, I can resonate with that a lot. I think like everybody has a reason to live, and choose the paths that they choose to go down. Like I think that music was something that really clicked with me early on and has always, been a part of my life and kind of um, has been there as like a direct force, in my life. And so, I find a lot of meaning in that and, having artists on and telling their stories. And I think it just makes me more invested in knowing, that people are out there telling their story and being out there for the reasons they choose to be out there and the reason that they believe, whether it's, for religious reasons, for, however you want to go, be a positive force in nature, I think everybody has different paths to be on. And, I'm just, privileged to have Zahna on and tell her story about, being a musician and, the hardships, which, there was a lot, but I hope that, I'm hoping that greener pastures for you, and I'm very, very stoked for Stronger Than Death, which is the perfect segue, Zana, to the last thing. Tell the people where they can find you at on social media, what you have coming up in the next couple months, and anything else you would like to plug, talk about, things of that nature.
Absolutely. So ZahnaOfficial.com is my website, guys, and anything on social media. I don't think I'm on Snapchat, but I think I'm on everything else. TikTok, Instagram, Zahna Official, at Zahna Official. So, and then I have a merch store. You can go buy physical copies of my new album coming out February 10th. That is all I care about right now, is the 3 years of work, the 4 years of stories and lessons that I have to reluctantly share again and again, but I'm here for it. So listen to it. You can pre-save it digitally. I do have some merch packages, like nations on my website. I have a Patreon too. If you really like what you listen to and you want to support monthly stuff, I don't keep any of that money. It just goes to making Zahna keep going with bills and everything that it has for business. So check it out, Patreon at Zahna Official, same, I believe. So yeah, other than that, I just keep going. If stuff is hard in your life, I'm so sorry. It'll get better.
I love it.
It'll get better.
There we go. Well, again, I gave a shout out to my man, my boy. I love him, Cody. Listen, yeah. Cody's my guy. I love Cody. He's my major homie. We've been friends for mucho years, so I always gotta show him some love. So big loves to Cody. He's the man. He already knows it. But anyway, the reason you're here, the reason you made it to the end of the line, go check out Zahna. All of the links will be in the description. I'll leave a link to pre-order her new album, Stronger Than Death. As she mentioned, it's coming out on February 10th of next year, which is right around the corner, so you won't have to wait too long. So go check that out. If you can, go pick it up on CD. Listen, us being a vinyl connoisseur, a little disappointed there's no vinyl, but hey, whatever.
Happened, just not yet. I gotta make the deluxe version real quick, and then.
Okay, all right, Zahna. All right, speaking my language, I love it. All right. Well, again, go pick up the CD so that I can it's jealously selfishly ask for vinyl now. So go do it. Go pick it out. Go pre-order it. Go support our girl here. She's awesome. And if you enjoyed this interview, share it, like, and subscribe. It goes a long way. It'll also be on audio format. I've been trying to get all of 7 years worth of audio files onto the streaming platforms, and it is hard, dude. So I am trying to do as much as I can. But if you'd like to listen to it and go from there just on your drive home or whatever, that'd be awesome. Give it a listen. And huge thanks to Zahna for coming on and spending a little over 2 hours with me.
Yeah, I'm here, man. That's why I do this. I gotta talk to people. I'm a girl. I like to talk a lot. So I'm just very grateful you endured all my ramblings.